right, first graders, we're going to do our August art. For this one, you will need the packet of papers that has one piece of plain art paper and 2 pages that have fish on them. You'll also want your watercolors and crayons and scissors and glue for this one. So we need lots of tools for this. But it's actually not that tricky. Let me show you what we'll do. So the first thing you're going to want to do is on the plain art paper, you're going to want to draw a picture of what you think it might look like down at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so you'll notice I have sand down here. I used different colors of tan and brown, a little bit of gray to make my sand. I put a rock here, and then I have some seaweed. Okay, so notice I used the picture to pretty much fill up the page. And once you have that, we're going to do what we did with our January picture. We're going to paint over it first with water and then with blue. So if you'll remember, we just went big back and forth on the paper. Big back and forth. No little paint jobs here. Okay. And notice my paintbrush is kind of on its side. We don't want to just use the tip. And I only do a couple brushes before I dip it in the water again. Okay. So you can see I've got water covering that up. Next, I'm going to use just the blue paint. You'll remember it goes yellow, green, and then blue. So I'm going to come down to the blue, get it nice and wet before I start using it. So I want it like super runny looking. I don't want it to look dry even a little bit. Okay, so once that blue is looking like a nice little puddle, then I go from water to paint, back and forth, water, paint. Okay, big back and forth just like we did with the plain water. And like we saw with the snowman, it doesn't go very well if there is crayon. So it's kind of leaving that seaweed alone, leaving the rock alone. A little bit might get in there to give it that underwater look, but most of it resists the color. This one, you'll want to get a little more to the edges than we were trying to do on the snowman. Come down here on the sand. You'll see I'm using a cookie sheet again to help protect my table from getting paint on it. Oh, it's looking pretty good. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting so close. A little more in there, a little bit more along this side. Even when I'm trying to get just these little places, I'm still not just doing little movements with my paintbrush. Still gonna get it nice, big stripes across. Okay, there we go. Excuse me. Okay, and now I'm going to let this dry. And while this is drying, I'm going to do the other part, which is I am going to pick 3 of the fish, just 3 of them. There's not going to be room for more than that. I'm going to pick 3 of the fish, and I'm going to find some interesting textures around my house to use to color these fish. So we've done a lot of careful coloring. This is not going to be careful coloring. This is going to be quick coloring. So you'll want 3 different colors, 3 different fish, and 3 different textures. So here I found one of my cutting boards that has these nice ridges on it. Okay, so I'm going to do this fish right here, and watch, I'm going to have my crayon, and I'm just going to hold the paper still And I'm just going to go as fast as I can. I'm not worried about being in the lines. Okay, and you'll see that the pattern from the cutting board is now showing on the fish. We call that a rubbing, texture rubbing. Okay, so I am going to go look for 2 other textures, and then I'll come back once I have rubbed 3 fish and have cut them out. Okay, so when you have done those things as well, we'll come back and we'll finish what we need to do. See you in a bit. Okay, so we have now colored and cut out our fish, and we're going to hook them in to be part of our underwater scene. So here's the one you guys saw me do already with my cutting board. And then I also have one that I did from some tiles that I have in my house. And then this one was from the frame around the edge of a mirror. And I thought that was a cool design too. Now I also did a table, but it didn't look as cool when I actually did the rubbing. And so I ended up not doing that one. And so that's one of the nice things about you having so many fish to choose from is if you do one and you don't really like the way it turns out, that's okay, you can do another. Okay, so now that I have those all cut out, I'm just going to put a little glue around the edge of it and decide where to place it here in my underwater scene. And so now we'll have these fun little fish with their scales made from different textures that we found around our house, swimming here in the water. So kind of a fun one to explore those different textures. I hope you found some really cool things to transfer the texture of. So there we go. There is our August picture. I hope you had fun. Bye.